For the ones who make over $150,000 a year, what do you do to get that?
Mr. Reddit.
So this doesn't help anyone, but it certainly fits. I worked sales for a company that sold ATMs. We hired a new guy first week on the job. A Chinese bank cold call him and order no joke 20k ATMs. The dude got his bonus check in quite. He make over 200k that year, lol. Software engineer, 150k plus stock. 40 hours a week, work from home so I get my cats to hang out with. Every 6 weeks or so I'm on call for work, which can occasionally make me work another few hours, and potentially get woken up at 4 a.m. by a page to my phone. I'm in B2B technical sales. I sell industrial starch to paper mills and charcoal plants. Base salary is $135,000 per year. Over the past 5 years, bonus has ranged from $40,000 to $70,000 based off company performance. We mostly hire engineers or at least people with technical background for our sales roles. Lineman. Applied for an apprenticeship after I got my CDL, rest is history. Pay varies by OT, can range anywhere from $170,000 to $300,000 depending how much you want to work. Slot game mathematician. You know how they say the games are rigged? I'm the guy that rigs it from math scratch work to the code that runs it. Ship captain, 250k wish for about 180 days of work. I do transport for a mortuary in the SF Bay Area, picking up dead bodies. My base pay is about 80k. But I get plenty of extra hours and overtime because I'm pretty much the only one who volunteers to do the SoCal and out-of-state trips. We will only go as far as Nevada, Arizona, Oregon, and the border towns of Mexico. With all the overtime I easily make $150,000. Field service technician. Travel 300 days a year with a 50-pound suitcase and 50 pounds toolbox troubleshooting and fixing industrial equipment. Honestly, the fastest way to get there is to job hop. I'm older, and there is no longer a reward for long-term employment. Pensions aren't a thing anymore, and employers don't give a shit to retain you. Leverage a new job for better pay. Also, don't be afraid to apply for jobs where you don't meet 100% of the qualifications. Those things are a wish list for employers, and I recommend you shoot your shot. I applied for a welding position that basically required me to have years of experience with every metal, every position, every type of welding, high on buildings, in cramped quarters. If there's more, I'll think of it. I got the job, and all I do is stainless and mild steel TIG welding on a welding bench in an air-conditioned shop. Sometimes they throw some aluminum at me. In my specific case, someone other than who actually worked with the welders made the requirement list, and they just copy-pasted a high-end welding position requirement list off of Google. LOL. I'm a steam fitter. Basically, I build industrial piping systems. Moved up the ladder after I got my license, and now with all the OT on the jobs I run I make somewhere around 200k. Real-time operations on the power grid, I'm something called a reliability coordinator. Desk job. Will make $300 to $400,000 this year. No degree at all. Went back to school at 27 for electrical engineering. After I graduated, I felt like I had the momentum to keep going, so I got my master's. I was able to land 3 different internships starting about my junior year, which helped gain me some experience in the field. Graduated at 34 and landed a job at Apple. Been here ever since. I used to care about identifying myself, but I don't give a shit if I get fired anymore, so I'll tell you, I am a GM at a global 3PL. My client is a well-known luxury fashion house. I drive over 100 miles round trip every day for everyone on my team and my client's team to throw their problems at me, including the problems they can easily solve on their own. I am surrounded by people with massive egos. My wife hates me. I leave for work before my son wakes up, and I come home regularly 10 minutes before his bedtime, usually too tired to do anything but sit and stare at the TV with him until bedtime. He's 6. I'm sure he'll grow up to hate me, too. I spend my weekends trying to catch up on chores. But I never catch up. I have no friends. I have no meaningful personal relationships. All I am is my job, and my job is, in the grand scheme of things, meaningless. I have completely lost my passion for life, and I have no real purpose. I should have learned how to weld, edit. Man, this blew up. I want to thank all of you that have reached out to me last night. I wasn't ignoring anyone, I just slept for 13 hours and took a sick day today. I promise I'm not going to hurt myself, I'm way too much of a wuss to actually do that. I started making YouTube videos about speedrunning for fun. They got popular, and each year I earned more and more from them. Now 7.5 years later, I'm doing it full-time with nearly 2 million subscribers. I'm incredibly fortunate, and didn't really seek this job out in the first place, but I'm so grateful that I get to do it. IT manager. Consultants tell me what needs to be done. I say okay. Not my money. Just make sure things are running smoothly. My husband makes just over $150,000 and he is a digital marketing manager for a tech company. He works from home and doesn't work a full 40 hours a week. Orthopedic surgeon. Made big sacrifices socially/traveling/income during 20s and early 30s while training. I'm 36 years old, just starting my third year of practice, and make $840,000 straight salary. Probably work about 55 hours per week. It's incredibly rewarding but also very stressful. I scroll for a little while, surprised I didn't see anybody else say they started their own service business. I do junk removal and snow removal, Canada. I've been in business 2.5 years. I grossed over $200,000 in 2023. I work 2 to 4 days a week during the summer, and generally only when it snows during the winter. Sometimes busier than that, sometimes less busy. On track to make maybe $250,000 this year. Assistant project manager. Started working there when I was 18, broke $100,000 at 34, and I'm currently 42. Only have a HS diploma. Most of the time switching companies is the only way to get a big salary bump, but I lucked out. Tech sales for F100 company. Averaging $225,000 over the last 3 years. Work 30 hours per week. Travel 25% of the time. It took a bit, but I learned how to swim in a big pond. Lawyer here, making $520,000 to $550,000, $390,000 base salary and $130,000 to $160,000 in bonus. My pay is very standard for a lawyer at a large corporate firm, as big law lawyers are paid in lockstep for the first 7 to 8 years. I have 5 years of experience, and essentially every other 6th-year lawyer at a large firm in a major US city makes the same amount I do. Takes way more of my time than I'd like, but it's exciting and pays well. The minimums are usually in the $2,100 range. It depends on the firm. I know medium firms that will put in a minimum of $1,650 or so, but then the pay is going to be substantially less as a result, and the offices are not going to be in big city downtown Class A space. Also, that's billed hours, not hours worked in the office. Eager beavers will bill up to 3,000 hours per year. Add in the time you spend in the office not billing, and you realize that work is your life all day, every day. The ones who do this are the ones who are so desperate to make partner they'll sell their children's souls. Newsflash though, once you make partner the hourly workload only gets slightly better, and it is still an awful lot of time. I am a lawyer and have been for 17 years. $230,000 annual base salary. General counsel at an industrial manufacturing and construction company. That means I'm a lawyer and head of the legal department for a fairly big company. I've been a lawyer for almost 9 years and done multiple kinds of law. That has allowed me to skip a few steps. But I'm also damn good at what I do and work my ass off. The only lawyers I know that are happy are in-house lawyers like me, and some prosecutors, but they get paid shit. But not everyone gets lucky enough to go in-house. If you're thinking about law, I would highly recommend that you reconsider. Do medicine, software, cybersecurity, or if you're hot, be a sugar baby, I guess. JK, don't do that. But anything but law. Edit, for those asking why not law, it starts with school. Everyone at law school was the smartest kid in every one of their classes from elementary school through college. Everyone. Then you got from that to being, maybe middle of the pack. A nobody. And it's super fucking cutthroat to get even there. But you learn to think like a lawyer, i.e. be a super obnoxious and hypercritical overthinker, then you get to a law firm or a government job or whatever, and it turns out law school taught you very little, if anything, about being a lawyer. But you're expected to know or learn the rules and start billing time, or charging people with crimes, or protecting kids from abusive parents, or some other super fucking heavy thing. At 25 years old, don't get me wrong, I take a tremendous amount of pride in it. But imagine, if you will, keeping track of everything you do in 6-minute increments to get to 150 hours worth of billable hours of work a month. You can never get ahead, at very best you are caught up, until the first of the month when you are 150 hours behind again. It takes you 200 hours of actual work to get to 150 or 160 of billable time. This is not an exaggeration in any sense. Imagine also being the only thing between your client and 10 years in prison, or losing their home, or losing their business or kids. In my situation, I am constantly on the lookout for problems and watching for things that may become problems for my entire company. The mental burden is a lot. I am a borderline alcoholic and am only now learning to take care of myself again. It's been a long road and I'm on the right side of it now, but there were times when I could have easily not made it to tomorrow, if you catch my drift. High school teacher, but I live/work in the HCOL area, have over a decade of experience, a master's degree, 75 hours of continuing education credits, and I'm working a 1.2 this year, meaning I gave up my prep period and teach 6 classes instead of 5 and get 20% extra pay. All that puts me just barely above $150,000 for the 24-25 school year. Presumably, next year they'll only need me to teach 5 classes and I'll be back under $150,000. Also, I get paid a little more in cash than many nearby districts, but my district doesn't provide health insurance, so I have to buy it on my state's exchange. $450,000 last year. I am a nuclear consultant, PhD, who provides safety and security advice to countries, usually governments and international organizations, on their nuclear programs and/or radiological issues/problems. Also, real estate on the side. Air traffic control is hiring. I made $237,000 last year. I sell websites to small businesses. I have a whole agency with SEO guys and developers and designers. I sell $150 a month subscriptions for a website and unlimited edits. I have about 85 clients in various packages and the rest is lump sum jobs for $3,500 minimum. Currently on track to do $180,000 this year. No WordPress either. All custom coded. It's a nice living. I did it the boring way, working 9 to 5 over the course of a few years. Focus on a niche and sell yourself up each step of the way. 2016 $50K, entry-level sales job out of college. 2018 $75K, switched to a different company doing the same thing with larger deals. 2019 $95K, promoted supervisor. 2020 $105K, poached for corporate role at the same company because I was familiar with the mechanics of how salespeople interacted with the internal tools and sold the product. 2021 $135K, promoted in corporate role. 2022 $150K, switched to a different company doing the same thing, less bonus. 2023 $175K, switched roles at company. 2024 $200K, joined a larger company. Key thing is, I never switched industries and stuck with it when it was bad. So I learned the business at the beginning, then the systems, then watched how the industry changes over time. And then finally how money is made when things are bad. Things that worked for me, have a short-term goal and tell people. Half of the battle is just telling your leaders what you want, so when the opportunity comes that matches your goal that you shared, they think of you. Caveat: do the role you were hired for effectively first. Then keep searching for yes. I got told no at some point at every progression, so I found someone who would advocate for me and say yes. If it wasn't happening, I would then look for a company that would say yes. It's not exciting and it may not work. However, I still think this approach has the highest odds with lowest risk. You gotta take that bet on yourself and put yourself out there. Good luck. I only made $150K/year hourly as a contractor, hired on it only approaches that with total comp. But they have 1:1 401K match and the company rocks, so I'm comfortable. Applications developer, Salesforce. Fully remote, work from home. If I wanted to leave and make $150K base with my experience, I imagine it would be quite trivial. But my company is awesome and so are my coworkers, and I can't tell you how much money I'd sacrifice for that. If you can learn how to code, you probably can. There is a fuck ton of money people will pay you to do relatively easy jobs, Well, it's not easy. Developer work can get exceedingly stressful, but as someone who used to make $12.50 per hour, nothing is more stressful than a 9 to 5 with 3 hours of commute that forces you to stay conscious through menial tasks for 8 hours and stay conscious of your bank account if you ever want to order a pizza or buy a video game console. I'll gladly put in 12 to 15 hour workdays and occasionally grind over weekends to avoid ever being forced to do that shit again. Edit. I do know it commonly do 12 to 15 hour workdays, lol. It's just a quirk of the job I'm salaried. So some days I work 5 hours, some days 10, some days I don't do jack shit, and occasionally deadlines/production fires mean I'm working into the AM. I typically love my hours though. I did work one job where I was constantly working into midnight on the regular. It didn't work out, and yes, it's unhealthy, very poorly communicated, but I think my point was that I feel like most jobs that pay less than mine are significantly more time and energy consuming. At least, certainly every job I had before becoming a developer. Lawyer. But I advise anyone who asks not to go into law. My wife is a specialist dentist making about 4x what I do, and she works 4 days a week with tons of vacation time. If our kids are driven, I will absolutely advise them to go into dentistry and own their own practice. Dentists make excellent money. Owners of dental practices, which in many states are also required to be dentists, make bank. I buy underperforming businesses with certain problems I know how to solve. Then, I solve the problems. Usually this means the company becomes profitable. Sometimes I'll sell the business. Other times I'll hold on to it for a while. I fire the HR department, the Karens, and the complainers. I fire a lot of project managers. The company is left with only its essential people, who are worth keeping. Then I raise the salaries of those who remain. They perform better. Eventually I sell the companies for 10-15x what I paid for them. Sometimes the company will regress after I've sold it, and I'll be called back in to solve problems that resurfaced. For example, one company rehired a Karen type in HR after I forced her out and automated her job functions. So I fired her again. Then, I fired the incompetent people she hired while I wasn't around. Then I fired the people they hired. Amazingly, and to everyone's surprise, except mine, the company became profitable again and everyone working there got huge bonuses. And now I'm their corporate babysitter, i.e., controlling shareholder once again. I work in IT for the government. Started off as Tier 2 help desk support with no degree like 20 years ago for a semiconductor company. Laid off twice in a 7-year span. Now I do senior IT asset management stuff along with some project management if I have to. $150,000 and I take no work home with me. 8 to 5 and I'm done for the day. It's not glamorous, but I like to share to give people without a degree hope. I've obviously been pretty lucky, but don't think you need to be stuck doing a $50,000 help desk job. Find a niche that you can fill or use whatever skills you already have to sell yourself. I had a pretty solid background in customer service, big box middle management, so I used that to my advantage. I make it very clear that I might not be the most technical person in the bunch, but I for sure will have the best customer service/rapport and have made a career out of being the bridge between IT and non-IT staff. Taking over complicated IT explanations and simplifying it the best I can. Anybody with problem solving and comprehension skills can do what I do.